beyond the sixth sense.
My name is Samantha. Before I tell you this story, there is something important you need to know about me. Ever since I was a child, I was different. While other children spent their afternoons playing outside, I often sat quietly in my room with my eyes closed. I didn't know the word meditation back then. I only knew that when I became very still, I felt connected to something bigger than myself. Sometimes I felt emotions that didn't belong to me. Sometimes I knew things before they happened. And sometimes I sensed presences. My grandmother believed I had a spiritual gift. She taught me how to meditate and how to protect my mind. For years, I treated these experiences as imagination, until the day I moved into apartment 307. The day that changed my life forever. The day my journey as a paranormal investigator truly began. This happened 3 years ago. I had just graduated from college. Like many graduates, I was excited to begin a new chapter. I found a small apartment in an older building on the edge of town. It wasn't luxurious. The paint was fading, the hallways smelled old. The elevators creaked. But the rent was affordable, and it was close to my new job. The manager told me apartment 307 had been vacant for several months. At the time, I didn't think much about it. I signed the lease, packed my belongings, and moved in. The first day felt normal. The second day felt strange, and by the third day, I knew something wasn't right. The apartment became unnaturally cold at random times. Not cold because of weather, not cold because of air conditioning. It felt as if invisible pockets of freezing air drifted through the rooms. One evening, I was unpacking books when I suddenly felt a heavy sadness. The feeling hit me like a wave. My chest tightened, my eyes filled with tears. But I had no reason to cry. The emotion wasn't mine. It felt borrowed, as though someone else's grief had entered the room. The feeling disappeared after a few minutes, but it returned the next night, and the night after that, each time stronger than before. A week later, the whispers began. I would hear faint voices while lying in bed. At first, I thought they came from neighboring apartments, but the words sounded distant, muffled, like someone speaking underwater. Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., I woke up. Every single night. No alarm, no noise, just a sudden awakening. And every time I opened my eyes, I felt as though someone had been standing beside my bed moments before, watching, waiting. The room would be empty, yet the feeling remained. One night, I returned home from work later than usual. The hallway outside apartment 307 was empty. As I unlocked my door, I noticed movement from the corner of my eye. A dark figure stood at the far end of the hallway, perfectly still. I turned toward it, and it vanished. Not walked away, not ran away, vanished, as though it had never existed. A chill ran through my body. That night, I couldn't sleep. I knew I needed answers. The next evening, I prepared for meditation. I turned off the lights, lit a candle, placed protective crystals around me, and sat cross-legged on the floor. I slowed my breathing. The room became silent. The outside world faded away. Gradually, my consciousness entered a deeper state, a place I had visited many times before, but this time felt different. Something was waiting for me. As my awareness deepened, images began appearing in my mind. Not dreams, not imagination, memories. someone else's memories. I saw a young man, perhaps 28 years old, dark hair, tired eyes, a gentle face marked by sadness. His name appeared clearly in my mind: Daniel. I watched scenes from his life unfold. Daniel had once lived in apartment 307, years earlier. He worked as a night shift nurse. He spent his life helping others, but inside, he carried enormous pain. His mother had died unexpectedly. His fiancée ended their engagement shortly afterward. The losses shattered him. He withdrew from friends, stopped answering calls, and isolated himself. Within months, he was completely alone. Through the vision, I experienced his loneliness. Night after night, he sat in the same apartment, the same living room, the same windows, watching the city lights, waiting for life to improve. But it never did. One stormy evening, he suffered a severe medical emergency while alone. No one was there to help him. No one heard his calls. No one knew he needed assistance. By the time help arrived, it was too late. His physical life ended, but his spirit remained. As the vision continued, I understood something heartbreaking. Daniel didn't know he had died. His consciousness remained trapped, confused, lost. He wandered through the apartment for years, reliving the same emotions, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice him. The cloud spots, the sadness, the whispers. Those weren't attempts to frighten me. They were desperate attempts to communicate. He wanted help. While meditating, I felt a presence standing before me. The image of Daniel became clearer. I wasn't seeing him with my eyes. I was seeing him with my mind. For the first time, I heard his voice clearly. "Can you see me?" The words echoed inside my consciousness. I felt his fear, his confusion, his loneliness. And I answered silently, "Yes." The moment I did, the room became intensely cold. The candle flickered violently, yet I felt no danger, only sorrow, deep sorrow. Over several meditation sessions, Daniel shared more memories. I learned there was one thing keeping him attached to this world: guilt. Before his death, he had argued with his younger sister. Their final conversation ended in anger. He never had the chance to apologize. And because of that unfinished emotion, his spirit couldn't move forward. He remained trapped between worlds, unable to find peace. The next challenge seemed impossible. I needed to find his sister. I only knew her first name, Emily. After days of searching public records and social media, I finally found her. She lived several hours away. At first, she thought I was crazy. Honestly, I couldn't blame her. Imagine receiving a call from a stranger claiming to know messages from your deceased brother. But something changed during our conversation. I shared details I couldn't possibly know. Private memories, childhood events, family secrets. Details Daniel had shown me during meditation. Silence filled the phone. Then Emily began crying. She knew I was telling the truth. A week later, Emily visited the apartment. She brought an old letter, one Daniel had written but never mailed. Inside was an apology, an expression of love, and a hope that someday they would reconcile. Emily sat in the living room and read the letter aloud. Tears streamed down her face. She forgave him, completely, openly, without hesitation. As she spoke, the atmosphere in the room changed. The heaviness that had haunted the apartment for weeks began lifting. That night, I entered meditation one final time, the deepest meditation of my life. Again, I saw Daniel, but this time he looked different. The sadness was gone. The fear was gone. He looked peaceful. Behind him appeared a brilliant white light, warm, comforting, beautiful. He smiled, a genuine smile, the first I had seen. Then he said something I will never forget. "Thank you for seeing me." The light grew brighter, and Daniel stepped forward. Within seconds, he disappeared into it. The connection ended. The apartment became silent. Not an empty silence, a peaceful silence. For the first time since moving in, the apartment felt alive again. The cold spots vanished, the whispers stopped, the sadness disappeared. Every strange occurrence ended that very night. But something inside me had changed. I could no longer deny what I was capable of. The experience proved that my childhood gift was real, and that it existed for a reason. Word of the incident spread slowly, first to friends, then relatives, then friends of relatives. People started calling me. Some wanted advice, some wanted answers, some were terrified by things they couldn't explain, and many were dealing with spirits who needed help. Cases began arriving one after another. Haunted houses, abandoned hospitals, mysterious voices, unexplained encounters, restless souls searching for peace. I realized this wasn't simply a gift. It was a responsibility, a calling. The universe had shown me a path, and I chose to follow it. Apartment 307 was the first spirit I ever helped cross over, but it would not be the last. In fact, it was only the beginning. Because shortly after helping Daniel, I received a phone call from a terrified woman living in an old farmhouse outside the city. She claimed something was standing outside her bedroom window every night, watching her, waiting. And that investigation would become my second case, a case far more frightening than Apartment 307. But that's a story for another night. My name is Samantha, and this is where my paranormal journey began, to be continued.
Beyond the sixth sense. Samantha closes her eyes, slow breath, sitting still in the dark. She can feel them, cold air, sudden chill. Beyond the six. Beyond the six. Beyond